1. Rabies. This ancient killer originated thousands of years ago, probably in bats, and decided it wasn't satisfied with just one host species. Rabies is remarkably democratic. It'll happily infect any warm-blooded mammal, from your neighbor's chihuahua to a grizzly bear. The virus is roughly 180 nanometers long, making it invisible to the naked eye, but certainly not invisible in its effects. The rabies virus works like a biological terrorist. It enters through a bite wound and travels along nerve pathways straight to the brain at about 3 millimeters per hour. Slow and steady wins the race to destruction. Once it reaches the brain, it hijacks the host's behavior, making normally docile animals aggressive and turning them into unwitting weapons of viral transmission. The virus also travels to the salivary glands, ensuring maximum viral load in each bite. It's like nature's perfect crime. The victim becomes the weapon. Ancient civilizations knew rabies well. The Babylonians wrote about it 4,000 years ago, and it appears in Homer's Iliad. Medieval Europeans called it the devil's disease because infected animals seemed possessed. The first rabies vaccine was developed by Louis Pasteur in 1885, tested on a 9-year-old boy who'd been mauled by a rabid dog. The kid lived, making Pasteur a hero, though one has to wonder about the ethics of using children as guinea pigs. Edgar Allan Poe possibly died from rabies, which would explain a lot about his writing style. Rabies' greatest strength is its near-perfect kill rate. Once symptoms appear, it's 99.9% fatal. The virus is also incredibly patient, sometimes hiding in the nervous system for months before striking. Its weakness? It's actually quite fragile outside the body and dies quickly when exposed to air, sunlight, or soap. So while it's terrifying, it's also surprisingly easy to prevent with proper vaccination and wound care. Rabies remains one of the most feared diseases in history, killing about 59,000 people annually worldwide. Despite being preventable, it continues to terrorize rural communities, especially in Africa and Asia. The disease serves as a perfect reminder that sometimes the smallest enemies are the most dangerous, and that nature's sense of humor is decidedly dark. Second, foot and mouth disease, FMD. This economic nightmare emerged in the 16th century, probably in Europe, and quickly proved that sometimes the pen is mightier than the sword if the pen is dipped in viral destruction. FMD affects cloven-hoofed animals like cattle, pigs, sheep, and goats, making it agriculture's worst enemy. The virus is only 25 nanometers in diameter, but don't let its size fool you. It packs the economic punch of a financial nuclear bomb. Here's a cheerful thought. FMD is so contagious that it can spread through the air for up to 60 kilometers over water. The virus attacks the mouth and feet of infected animals, creating painful blisters that make eating and walking torture. Animals develop fever, drool excessively, and eventually become too weak to stand. The virus spreads through saliva, breath, and basically any bodily fluid you can imagine. It's like the common cold, if the common cold could destroy entire national economies and required burning thousands of animals alive to contain. The 2001 outbreak in the UK was like a real-life disaster movie. Over 6 million animals were slaughtered and burned in massive pyres, visible from space. The British countryside looked like a medieval battlefield, with smoke columns rising from burning cattle. The economic damage exceeded $12 billion, tourism collapsed, and the country went into virtual agricultural lockdown. Tony Blair's government nearly fell over a virus smaller than most bacteria. The 1967 outbreak required 440,000 animals to be killed, proving that FMD doesn't discriminate between decades. FMD's superpower is its incredible contagiousness. It spreads faster than gossip in a small town. The virus can survive in frozen meat for years and in dried saliva for weeks. Its Achilles heel is that it only affects specific animals and doesn't jump to humans, making it more of an economic weapon than a people killer. Also, proper vaccination can prevent it, though many countries avoid vaccines to maintain disease-free status for trade. FMD continues to lurk in developing countries, occasionally escaping to remind developed nations that viruses don't respect borders. It's a perfect example of how microscopic entities can bring entire industries to their knees, proving that sometimes the smallest problems create the biggest headaches and the largest funeral pyres. Third, bird flu. Bird flu has been around since birds learned to fly, but it really hit the headlines in 1997 when it decided to jump species and start terrorizing humans in Hong Kong. The H5N1 strain is particularly nasty, with a 60% mortality rate in humans, making it deadlier than Ebola. This virus primarily affects birds but has shown a disturbing tendency to experiment with other hosts, including humans, cats, and even seals. Fun fact, migrating birds serve as flying biological weapons, spreading the virus across continents faster than international flights. The virus attacks the respiratory system of birds, causing everything from mild symptoms to sudden death. In poultry, it spreads through the air, contaminated water, and infected equipment. When it jumps to humans, it causes severe pneumonia and organ failure. The virus mutates constantly, like a biological shapeshifter, making it nearly impossible to develop lasting immunity. Each mutation is nature's way of rolling the dice to see if this will be the combination that starts the next pandemic. The 2003 to 2004 outbreak in Asia required the slaughter of over 100 million birds and caused dozens of human deaths. Entire poultry industries collapsed overnight, and countries spent billions on containment. The virus has a particular fondness for poultry farms, where thousands of birds live in close quarters, essentially virus breeding factories. In 2022, the largest outbreak in U.S. history killed over 50 million birds. The economic damage exceeded $3 billion and egg prices skyrocketed, proving that viruses can affect your breakfast budget. Bird flu's greatest strength is its ability to mutate rapidly and potentially jump between species. It's also highly contagious among birds and can survive in cold temperatures for months. Its weakness is that it doesn't spread easily between humans, yet. The virus also requires close contact with infected birds for transmission, making it more of an occupational hazard than a general threat. Avian influenza remains a constant threat, lurking in the background, waiting for the right mutation to unlock pandemic potential. It's a reminder that evolution never stops experimenting, and sometimes those experiments involve turning your Sunday chicken dinner into a biological weapon. The virus continues to evolve, making scientists nervous and poultry farmers paranoid, probably for good reason. 4. Bovine tuberculosis. This bacterial infection has been plaguing cattle for thousands of years, but it really made a name for itself in the 19th century when it started jumping to humans through contaminated milk. Caused by Mycobacterium bovis, it's closely related to human tuberculosis and just as persistent. The bacteria can survive in the environment for months and has a particular talent for hiding in the lymph nodes of infected animals. Here's a disturbing fact. Badgers in the UK are considered a reservoir for the disease, making them unwitting biological terrorists in striped fur coats. The bacteria attacks the respiratory system and lymph nodes of cattle, causing chronic wasting, coughing, and eventual death. It spreads through aerosols when infected animals breathe, cough, or sneeze. The bacteria forms protective casings around itself, making it incredibly difficult to kill and allowing it to persist in tissues for years. It's like the ultimate biological squatter, Once it moves in, it's nearly impossible to evict. Bovine TB was a massive problem in the early 20th century, killing thousands of people who drank contaminated milk. The introduction of pasteurization saved countless lives, though Louis Pasteur probably didn't realize he was declaring war on bacteria when he invented the process. In the UK, the government has spent decades trying to control the disease by culling badgers, leading to one of the most controversial wildlife management programs in history. Imagine explaining to aliens that humans spend millions of dollars hunting striped mammals to protect cows. The disease's strength lies in its persistence. It can hide in animals for years without showing symptoms, spreading silently through herds. The bacteria is also extremely hardy and can survive harsh environmental conditions. Its weakness is that it's preventable through testing, vaccination, and proper biosecurity measures. The bacteria also grows very slowly, making diagnosis time-consuming, but giving authorities time to respond. Bovine tuberculosis remains a significant problem in many countries, costing billions in testing, culling, and trade restrictions. It's a perfect example of how ancient diseases can persist in modern times, adapting to new hosts and environments. The ongoing badger culling controversy in the UK proves that sometimes the cure can be almost as controversial as the disease itself. ஐந்தாவது Africa Swine Fever, ASF. This viral nightmare emerged in Africa in the early 20th century, but stayed relatively contained until it decided to go global. ASF affects domestic and wild pigs with a mortality rate approaching 100%, making it the grim reaper of the swine world. The virus is roughly 200 nanometers in diameter, but packs enough punch to collapse entire pork industries. Ticks serve as vectors, which means even tiny arachnids are part of this biological conspiracy. Fun fact, warthogs in Africa carry the virus but don't get sick, making them the ultimate asymptomatic spreaders. The virus attacks the pig's immune system and blood vessels, causing high fever, skin lesions, and internal bleeding. Infected pigs develop a characteristic reddish skin discoloration before dying within days. The virus spreads through direct contact, contaminated feed, and infected ticks. It's like a biological timer bomb. Once it enters a pig population, it's game over. The virus can survive in frozen pork for years and in dried blood for months. ASF escaped Africa in 2007 and began its world tour, hitting Eastern Europe first. By 2018, it reached China and devastated the world's largest pig population. Over 400 million pigs were culled. Global pork prices soared, and China had to import massive amounts of protein. The economic damage exceeded $140 billion, making it one of the costliest animal disease outbreaks in history. The virus continued spreading, reaching Germany in 2020 and causing trade restrictions that affected global commerce. ASF's superpower is its incredible lethality in pigs and its ability to survive in the environment for extended periods. The virus is also highly contagious and can spread through contaminated vehicles, equipment, and even clothing. Its weakness is that it doesn't affect humans, making it purely an animal and economic problem. The virus also has no vaccine or treatment, but this is actually more of a weakness for us than for the virus. African swine fever continues to spread globally, serving as a stark reminder that viruses don't respect borders or trade agreements. It's currently reshaping global pork production and trade, proving that microscopic entities can have macroeconomic impacts. The virus represents nature's way of reminding us that we're all interconnected, whether we like it or not. 6. Canine parvovirus. This tiny terror emerged in the 1970s, probably as a mutation of feline panleukopenia virus, and decided that cats weren't challenging enough. Parvovirus is only 25 nanometers in diameter, but attacks puppies with the efficiency of a biological heat-seeking missile. The virus has a particular fondness for rapidly dividing cells, making young dogs its preferred targets. Here's a cheerful thought. The virus can survive in the environment for over a year and is resistant to most disinfectants. The virus attacks the intestinal lining and bone marrow of infected dogs, causing severe bloody diarrhea, vomiting, and immune suppression. Puppies can die within 48 hours of showing symptoms. The virus spreads through contaminated feces and can be tracked on shoes, clothing, and equipment. It's like a biological landmine, invisible, persistent, and deadly to the unsuspecting. The virus preferentially attacks rapidly dividing cells, which is why puppies are so vulnerable. Parvovirus exploded onto the scene in the late 1970s and early 1980s, killing thousands of dogs before veterinarians figured out what they were dealing with. The virus seemed to appear out of nowhere, leading to theories about laboratory escapes and biological warfare. Dog shows became disease transmission events, and kennels turned into biological battlegrounds. The development of vaccines in the 1980s saved countless lives, though the virus continues to evolve and occasionally breaks through vaccination barriers. Parvovirus's strength lies in its environmental persistence and its ability to cause rapid, severe disease in vulnerable populations. The virus is also highly contagious and can spread through minimal contact with contaminated materials. Its weakness is that effective vaccines exist, and proper sanitation can prevent transmission. The virus also only affects dogs and closely related species, limiting its host range. Canine parvovirus remains a significant threat to unvaccinated dogs worldwide, particularly in areas with poor veterinary care. It serves as a perfect example of how new diseases can emerge suddenly and devastate naive populations. The virus continues to evolve, keeping veterinarians on their toes and reminding dog owners that vaccination isn't optional, it's survival insurance. Siedmi Hendra virus. This Australian nightmare emerged in 1994 in Brisbane and immediately proved that Australia's reputation for deadly wildlife extends to the microscopic level. Named after the suburb where it was first identified, Hendra virus primarily affects horses but has shown a disturbing ability to jump to humans. The virus is carried by flying foxes in fruit bats, making it literally airborne death with wings. Fun fact, the virus was initially called equine morbillivirus before being renamed after its location, proving that even viruses get better marketing. The virus attacks the respiratory and nervous systems of horses, causing fever, difficulty breathing, and neurological symptoms. In humans, it causes flu-like symptoms that can progress to encephalitis and death. The virus spreads from bats to horses through contaminated fruit or water, then from horses to humans through close contact. It's like a biological relay race where each handoff potentially involves death. The first outbreak killed 14 horses and trainer Vic Rail, who became the first known human victim. The Australian government initially downplayed the threat, but subsequent outbreaks proved the virus wasn't going away. In 2008, veterinarian Alec Khoury died after treating infected horses, highlighting the occupational hazards of veterinary medicine. The virus has killed over 100 horses and 7 humans, making it Australia's deadliest emerging disease. Hendra virus's strength is its ability to jump between species and its high mortality rate in both horses and humans. The virus is also difficult to detect early and has no specific treatment. Its weakness is that it doesn't spread easily between humans and requires close contact with infected horses for transmission. The virus is also geographically limited to Australia and affects relatively few species. Hendra virus continues to emerge sporadically in Australia, serving as a reminder that new diseases can appear anywhere and anytime. It represents the complex interactions between wildlife, domestic animals, and humans in our changing world. The virus proves that sometimes the most dangerous threats come from the most unexpected sources, like fruit bats with a taste for suburban mangoes. If you enjoyed it, then watch our next video shown on screen.